Hey Moxians, welcome. So this is going to be the combination of both the first video, first tutorial and the second tutorial. So many of you have missed because of internet issues and so many other things. So I'm quickly combining both and let's dive into the subject. Hope you have all downloaded the tracks as well. So we have logic loaded here, and what we are going to do first is going to combine the kick track, the bass track and the vocals track into one group, and then we are going to find what is the accompaniment track and then group it separately. So today we are going to work on the first element, so that's your kick, bass and vocals, because these are absolute mono elements, so they are going to translate well in your mobile applications and other gadgets very effectively. So the sounds which are coming equally from both the speakers without any time delay or without any level difference is basically called as mono, and that is going to be more refinedly heard in many gadgets. So what we are going to do is we are going to load few plugins on the master track. So this isn't a pre-mastering or mastering as such. So this is going to be a sweetening process which we follow it at Mox Media. We instruct the students to do it because we are very much focused on the levels. So what we do is first we are having a plugin, the gain plugin. So we are going to change the values of gain through the plugin and not through the faders, because the resolution of the faders are much smaller at the lower stages. When you slightly move the fader, it ends up giving you more or less decibels. Then you have a graphic equalizer, and you have an equalizer which is a linear equalizer, and there is two types of equalizers, linear equalizer and then the zero latency equalizer. So in the master track we are going to put a linear phase EQ. It means it is going to cause no phase issues, but sometimes it might load your CPU. So I've gently done little bit of cutting around the low edge, and then around the mid, little bit of around 400 Hertz. It's been like slightly reduced, and then I boost somewhere around 3 to 4K, because that's going to be the resonant frequency of the human here. I'm going to do it very subtle. Maybe when you bypass it, you don't hear, you don't get to hear anything. So that's my second processing. Then I'm going to do a gluing compressor. So this compressor is basically not meant for the purpose of compression, but it is going to slightly give you an attenuation, and it is going to gel up the tracks very well. And the sound of this particular plugin, SSL solid state logic, is also amazing. If you do not want an analog hiss, then you can put this particular thing off. And then on the next chain of plugins, we have a Gregwell one knob plugin. So this is a mix centric plugin where it has a combination of 3 or 4 effects, and by dialing in one knob you're going to sweeten the sound. So we are not going to do it like this and all, because as I already told, it is in the process of sweetening. We just add 1 or 2 points in your plugin, so that much is sufficient. Then we are going to add a Kramer tape saturation plugin. As we all know that today the sound as such is basically pressure. As I speak, there's pressure in the room, then it is getting converted into voltage, that is electricity, and you require a VU meter. So this particular meter is the digital version of VU meter basically. So this reads the voltage that is converted as per the sound produced, and then the voltage nowadays it is getting converted into zeros and ones and stored on your computer. So to monitor how much of bits available with us to process the audio, we use this true peak meter and RMS meter. They are not going to give you the voltage reference or the sound pressure reference, but it is going to simply tell the number of bits available in your computer to be used. And then olden days, before digitizing, we had another stage of magnetization. The voltage further converts into magnetization for permanently recording onto the tape. So there is something called tape saturation, where you end up giving more voltage, but it reaches an upper threshold beyond which the tape cannot get further magnetized. So this produces a warm sound, and based on different cassette materials, like you had the HMV, T series, Sony, Billboard. So every cassette, every depending on the make, there is a warmth. So this particular plugin is going to introduce a little bit of saturation. So we go load a mastering preset which is going to be called clean and open. Then I dial down the noise values a bit. So this is the tape hiss which we are going to add. We don't want it to be so prominent since we are in the digital era. So this is what we are going to do. You are going to gently EQ it, gently put a gluing compressor and then a mix-centric plugin, and then you're going into a Kramer tape saturation. Then you have the level meter, then you have the correlation meter to check for phase cancellations. You have to be well within this +1 region, and then you have the loudness meter, the LUFS meter. As I play the track, you can see the integrated values. Probably sometimes you need to start this plugin, so it is somewhere around -20, 25. So what I would suggest is, during your mixing, try to aim somewhere around -23 LUFS. So it could be oscillating between 20, 23, 24 LUFS during the mixing stage, and only during the mastering stage we boost the LUFS to -14 for Spotify or -16 for YouTube kind of a standards. We are not going to cross anywhere above -14 or 15 LUFS during mastering, but during the mixing it is going to be -23. That is what we are going to aim at. So once we are done with this plugin, I'm going to put this LUFS plugin and the LUF plugin intact, and I'm going to listen to the kick sound. I have a pretty decent kick. So I have put a fab filter, sorry, this is in the vocal track. So we have a fab filter, and we are rolling down low ends as well as high ends. So this particular plugin has an option of soloing. So as I hit the solo button and move, I get to hear the sounds. So it means the filtering action is more. So I trace back again to a point where the sound is actually, the filtering is inaudible. So that is a decent amount of filtering which we have done. So I'm also doing that same in the high ends. I solo the high ends and bring it in so that I hear the click that is present in the kick drum. So it means I'm doing an extreme filtering. So I roll back outwards to much upper frequencies so that I don't hear the click sound. So it means the filtering is better. Then what I do is, like, we have a envelope shaper added into the drum track, into the kick drum track. So every sound has an attack, decay, sustain and release parameters. So the initial transient, the attack time of the plugin, if it's little sharper, you get a very punchy kick, and your tail is going to be like this. If you want the kick drum to resonate, you can have the more tail, or you can shorten it to the kick quickly dies in your track. So I have gently added it, and I'm looking at the LUFS meter. We are somewhere around -29, that's the region. So we have a lot of headroom to go. And what we are going to do now is some concept called parallel compression. I'm sending this kick drum into an auxiliary track where we have installed a compressor which is compressing approximately 12 decibels. So I dial down the threshold to see maximum compression happening, and I make sure this auto gain feature is off. So this particular track is skewed a lot, and then slowly we are adding the parallel compressed track into our main section. So I get a whole bodied full sound by increasing this bit. I can see the LUFS meter popping up, and so this is a pretty decent amount of kick to begin with. And then let me just introduce the bass track. It's a nice bass. So what we are going to do is the same process. We are going to put a fab filter, dial in the low end and high end to an extent, solo the low ends to an extent that there is no obvious filtering. If there is an obvious filtering, you hear something during the filtering, slightly pull back so that you don't hear. So this is a pretty decent amount of filtering which is done on the bass. So we have created a lot of space in the bass, as well as lot of space in the high end for your hi-hats and shakers and other accompaniment instruments to play. Then the word Renaissance fascinates me so much. It means revolution, it means reformation, Purachi, and all such things. So I like to use the plugin which is very revolutionary, R bass, Renaissance vocals, Renaissance bass, Renaissance compressors, EQs and all. So we have installed a Renaissance bass compressor. So the moment you insert this plugin, you can see the little bit of blue color happening here. So without the plugin, it sounds shallow. The bass guitar has got no body, and now it sounds bassy, and it's right. It's in the right proportion with that of a kick drum. So, and I have leveled the bass guitar to an extent, monitoring, keeping my eyes constant on the loudness meter, because the loudness meter works how you perceive it, not about what is the pressure or the voltage, but how logarithmically your ears perceive. So as I increase it, you can see, okay, you can see that maybe like, but I'll push it up. So we are up to minus 26 level, but we are aiming somewhere around 23, 24, that's the levels. But now I can still hear my kick and the bass properly merged, and then I end up into my lead vocals. We are hurrying up a little bit, so let's just go to the lead vocals. In Indian music, most of the time the lead vocals plays a major role because of the lyrical quality and the way it is being sung. So it is completely treated different compared to the other Western songs. In Western songs, normally you have seen in YouTubers, engineers talking about finishing the drum section completely, then coming to the vocals or the accompaniment part. But in Mox Media, we are going to have a different approach. We are going to finish the absolute monos, and then we are going to work on the absolute stereo elements where it is going to be really wide. We are going to find the accompaniment instruments and then treat it separately. Getting back to our Logic back, so we have the filter plugin installed. So same way the lows and high ends are cut. So I found a little bit of sibilance presence are a little too much in this particular track. So we end up cutting the low frequencies, and you can look at the graph. You can see there's a weak regions, there is a dip around this mid regions. So we had boosted it subtly. So this plugin is very subtle. Even look wise it appears as we have a great bell curve, but it is not that very obvious. We are trying to get all these frequencies in a straight line. That's what we are going to do. So we have gently increased little bit of mid frequencies, so that the tracks are more obvious, and it takes the front seat. When you pull down the mid frequencies, any instrument, it is going to take the back seat. So we have done this on the vocals. It sounds good, and we are going to use similarly, as I told, or Vox plugin, the Renaissance Vox plugin. The moment I insert, you can see the end, the tails of each phrases are now heard properly. So it's not dying, so everything is consistent. So I can pull down this particular knob, the compressor knob, and you can see the amount of attenuation happening. So this little bit of attenuation is going to bring up the whole buried sentences, the buried phrases up into your mix. So I prefer to have a little more of attenuation, and automatically there's a gain added to the vocals. It sounds very rich and natural. And then we have a reverb added. This is not for stereo enhancement, it is just for sweetening. Probably you don't even notice the amount of reverb, so I'm going to keep it 6% or 2%, 3% like that. So it is going to add little bit of life into your vocals. So probably if you want enhanced reverb, a stereo reverb, we will be doing it little later, and that we would be treating it as a reverb. We will be treating it as a stereo element, and we'll be making it wider by using Imager plugin and all such thing. But since it's going to be your kick drum, bass and vocals, we are going to add very little. And then I had dialed in an D as a plugin. So especially the sounds like Isi Jagume, so these kind of S sounds are very prominent. In spite of rolling off so much of high end, we still have problems with sibilance. So I probably expect the sibilance to be around 12 kilohertz, and we bring down how much of attenuation required whenever that particular S sounds are present. So this plugin is a DSR plugin from again Waves. So we have now a pretty good combination of kick, bass and lead, and we have to ensure, just a second, I'm getting a call. We have to ensure that everything stays well within the plus region. Sorry about the phone call. So it means we are in mono, we are intact. So I would, and also check the LUFS meter, and we are somewhere around 21. And if I want to further reduce, I simply dial in the gain plugin, I reduce the gain. So without altering the much of a balance between the three components which we worked, we are just bringing down little volume in your mix. So still it sounds very good. And so what I would suggest is, once you are done with the basic mono elements, play it in your car, play it in your phone, play it in your television. See to that all the sounds, all the balance between the mono components are translating well. So that's very, very important. Next, what we are going to do is, we are going to find the accompaniment instruments. So accompaniment instruments, normally it would be 3 or 4 instruments. Sometimes it would be just one rhythm guitar and a piano backing. But identifying the accompaniment instrument is like, it is going to play all through your track, supporting these mono fundamentals. So we group them into one sector, and we are going to do MS processing. We're going to take off low ends from the mids, and then we are going to take a lot of low ends from the sides, and then boost little bit low frequencies on the mid. So M and S processing is going to be done. Then we are going to add imager to get more width on the mid and high frequencies. Parallelly, we are going to ensure there is no phase cancellation happening through the correlation meter. This is what we are going to do as the second stage. The first stage is absolute mono, and the second stage is absolute stereo, which is going to give width. Then combine these two elements, and further again cross check in your different speakers and all such things. And then all other elements are just going to be fillers, and they are going to add little bit of peppy to the song, but not going to greatly deviate your balance or the mix. So this is a very unique approach which I would suggest for any beginners to start. Experimenting is the only way of making closer to perfection. So I hope Mogzians would do that. I would also suggest Mogzians to have very healthy food and workouts and all such things, because probably another 15 days we are going to meet. We've been like in the studio from 25th onwards, and we have to definitely take care of our health, lot of immunity, and as well as come back to the normal situation. So more than wearing mask or hand sanitizing, it's your inner strength, inner ability and fitness that minds, because a lot of opportunities are there. Plenty of new opportunities are coming, even in school sectors and other places where there is a lot of requirements for an AV technicians, because everything is streamed online. So there we could always see this as a positive sign also, and a lot of newcomers are there. So today we clubbed both the things. So we looked at the meters. There are 4 different types of meters, starting from pressure to how you listen, that's your LUFS meter. And then we had the absolute mono tracks, and we used majoritarily the Waves plugin, and then we had a small sweetening process which is done on the master track, very, very, very subtle. So we had a equalizer, we had a gluing compressor, we had a mix centric plugin, we had a tape saturation plugin, then the meterings, especially the LUFS and the correlation meter. Hope this helps you to take it further. No worries that you don't have a software, you don't have a proper gadgets. Make sure the concepts are properly learned. There is no doubt about the plugins. You can do research more on the Mixcentric plugin and all other plugins. So the moment you access the studio is always yours. Even we have plans to open on Sundays to compensate for all the classes missed. So do be connected, stay safe and quarantined. Take care guys, love you all, bye bye.